everyone. Welcome to our panel, Empowering ESG and Sustainability with Blockchain. I'm super excited to be discussing this topic with Miriam Ayati, Francisco Benedito, and Claudio Parinello. Hello. We're going to do a quick round of each person just talking about what they're doing in this space to set a good baseline for the discussion. So Miriam, why don't you start?
Thank you, Laura. It's lovely to be here, and thanks for coming to listen to us. My name is Mariam, like Laura said. I'm a long-term deal maker and originator across global crude and oil products and commodities, and I've helped co-found some of the first enterprise-grade blockchains for Brent crude oil, trade finance, achieving significant scale on day one, 60+% of market share. In the last year or so, my co-founder, who comes from really a pure crypto and grassroots entrepreneurship background, we've gotten together with some of the amazing pioneers of cryptography and blockchain, including our co-founding strategic partners, Algorand, and some mega institutional participants in global commerce, and brought together a grassroots community to create a new home called Water Foundation, without the E, WATR Foundation, for commerce, tackling both sustainability and DeFi with verified identities as one of the enabling pillars.
Claudio, go ahead.
Hello, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm Claudio Parinello. I'm the CEO of PlanetWatch. What does PlanetWatch do? Our ambition is to look after the planet, because guess what? Our planet is in danger, which means our own health is in danger. And we need very courageous decisions based on science in order to improve our chances of survival. Now, science needs lots of data, environmental data in this case. We don't have enough data at the moment. And the task of gathering necessary body of data, big green data, is even beyond governments. It's about deploying hundreds of thousands of sensors worldwide to better understand the dynamics of pollution and to better understand the dynamics of all the threats that we see to our lifestyle and life itself. So the key idea about PlanetWatch is to engage in this huge task ordinary people. So engage local residents in cities to help us deploy a very dense, high-performance network of sensors, and we are starting with the challenge of air quality, to generate this huge body of data, which, when properly analyzed, can lead to actionable recommendation to mitigate pollution hotspots. So that's what we do in a few sentences.
Go ahead, Francisco.
Thanks, Laura. Well, thank you for having us here, and it's a pleasure to be in this panel. Well, basically, we've been in Climate Trade. I'm the CEO of Climate Trade. We started back in 2018. We were the first blockchain marketplace for carbon offsetting worldwide. Today, we've been growing, and we work with some of the biggest corporations in Europe in terms of helping them to achieve carbon neutrality, all traced by blockchain. We need traceability, we need transparency, and we need to use the less polluting blockchain. That's why we are with Algorand today. So we are very happy to be invested by Algorand, and obviously Borderless Capital initially was our first investor. And well, Climate Trade, what we do is we want to generate positive impact. It is very relevant to know where the money is flowing in the climate space. You cannot be generating pollution here. You need to know where your money goes, not to the pocket of the broker, the pocket to the developer who is generating positive impact in the planet. Imagine avoiding deforestation of the Amazonia in Peru, Brazil, or any other places, no? So together with that, we have an API, which was the first carbon API in the world. So imagine every product that you know today is going to be carbon labeled. Every product that you buy is going to have the mark of CO2. So what we do is we allow with our API to offset in the transaction to the end user through the corporation, B2B2B or B2B2C, banks, gas stations, hotel rooms, flights, everything. We connect the API to the website, app, or whatever you need, internal systems, and we compensate the carbon footprint. Thank you.
And so Claudio and Francisco, you two have some news that you're going to announce right now.
Yeah, let's unveil something real time. Very glad to announce that we have signed a collaboration agreement, partnership, you name it, which will mean that people who are earning PlanetWatch token out of their effort to deploy sensors and stream useful data to our platform will be able to redeem their planets for carbon credits provided by Climate Trade. That's very interesting both for ordinary people as well as for corporations, because it means you are achieving two goals in one go. On one hand, you are helping protect the planet. And for example, if you are a business and if you are talking about indoor air quality, we have a number of corporate customers such as hotels. So not only as a hotel, you'll be able to prove that your indoor air quality is safe, you are the safest hotel in town. At the same time, we'll be generating resources that can be used to reduce your carbon footprint, to offset your carbon footprint. So the message to the public will be very strong. And of course, even as an individual, if you wish to use Planet tokens to reduce your personal carbon footprint, you'll be able to do that. I'm very glad that we have come to this agreement.
Very great, my friend.
So that's not actually all the news we have. I find that super interesting, and I have some questions, but I actually also want to get out some of the other news. So Francisco, you also have some news with Algorand that you would like to talk about.
Yes, we are very happy to announce that we've been working with Algorand for like more than 4 months, more than 6 months. My team and the team of Algorand, we are launching now the Green Treasury, a Green Treasury and an Oracle. So basically, every epoch that is made after one epoch, then the next transaction, any user that makes it, will open the calculation of the carbon footprint of that epoch. Then we go to the Green Treasury and we'll generate the automatic compensation. So we don't have to be compensating the carbon footprint after 1 year manually, we will do it automatically. So it will be live, and anyone will be able to use that Green Treasury to compensate also their activities on the blockchain, on the Algorand blockchain. That's, I think, is big because not only Algorand already is the greenest blockchain worldwide, we are going to do it automatically real time, which is fantastic.
And we're going to, no, we're not done with all the announcements yet. There's one last one, which is, if for those of you who attended the last panel I moderated, this is a mashup of the two panels, but go ahead, Francisco.
Thank you. So, and last but not least, we are launching tomorrow, press release that is going to be today. You are having the exclusivity here. It's being created, the Green Climate DAO. We created the Green Climate DAO, which is going to bring the possibility of like acquiring climate coin tokens attached to a carbon credit. So you will be able to follow the price on carbon and retire with the climate coins carbon credits from obviously the Algorand wallets and from the different wallets. And at the same time, we are launching with the Green Climate DAO a governance token called Climat. So with that, you will be able also to participate in the governance, obviously, of the DAO. It will be launched under a foundation initially, converted afterwards in that DAO. So basically, the future of that, or the objective, the goal of that DAO, we've been working on this since 2016, and my partner has been in UN for 15 years. So basically, what we need to create the possibility through DeFi to incentivize projects that generate carbon credits worldwide. So you will be able to have pools and to stake there all that tokens, and then that carbon credits that you are generating, and then finance new projects that will be at the same time generating less pollution and bringing new projects to reduce emissions and decarbonize the planet.
And so what's your vision for what people will do with those carbon credits that they're earning? Because right now, at the moment, like even though I, understand that, yes, I could purchase a plane ticket and offset the emissions with carbon credits, there's nothing forcing me. There's, not a lot of demand as far as I understand for these things. So
it's grown fivefold in the last 3 years. It's growing exponentially now. I mean, the price of carbon when I started here was talking in Europe, €7. Today is 70 euros per ton. So the price is expected to arrive in 2050, $1,000 per ton. So the thing is that this is not about buying carbon credits by polluting. This is about reducing our emissions. But the sectors have a transition. You cannot go to an airline and say tomorrow you have to be carbon neutral because they go bankrupt. They need to change the planes towards hydrogen, but the hydrogen is not going to be ready until 2035. So they need to put the money. The thing is where that money is going. It has to generate positive impact. So it's not going to the broker's pocket. It has to go to the developer's project because this guy is going to be generating other projects. So that's the purpose of what we are going to do with the Green Climate DAO. There are small developers and many developers worldwide that is not associated to finance, so they don't have money to generate projects. And they have amazing ideas, amazing projects that scaling up the projects is a solution for the planet.
Oh, I see. So you're using the token to incentivize developers to build applications that tackle climate change or other environmental issues.
Basically,
Okay.
together with projects.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure, Mariam, you probably have an opinion on this. I know kind of like incentives and governance are something that interests you.
Yeah, first, I think it's very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the other thing is going back to the G part of ESG and talking about what does governance look like in a world where there is so much wealth accrued in centralized organizations. And my past of massive corporates, and if you're in the Fortune 10, 20, 50, those have accrued that wealth by centralizing all of the processes from sort of production of whether it's carbon credits or copper or financing those things to when they reach their demand. And where blockchain gets really interesting for me is some of the work you're talking about and some of the work we're all doing, which is what happens if you disintermediate where intermediation isn't necessary, and what happens if you reallocate those resources and that decision making to where those resources need to be most used, and taking governance to the final end user. So what I find really exciting about not just the carbon angle, but the financial inclusion that you can achieve through decentralization and allowing organizations such as yours, but also the big conglomerates and multinationals to extend their relationship with the last mile users of their product, the customers they need, by giving them access to DeFi technology and financing through those mechanisms, by giving them access to voting and governance rights at a democratized way where they haven't had that before, fundamentally allows us to change commerce and allows us to make impact in a way we haven't done before, because you're now no longer captive to a centralized shareholder. I think that gets super cool.
Yeah, and just to maybe clarify or put into different words, like earlier you talked about how you have developed this instance of Algorand that's, as you called it, sovereign, or what I would call maybe permissioned, but it's a kind of a new instance of Algorand that you were saying different corporations in like mining and energy and these other environmental industries will be using. And so are you saying that you feel that a token kind of could get everyday consumers and users of environmental resources on the same page and aligned in the same mission as these big corporations that are, usually viewed as kind of like basically exploiting the environment? Is that your vision, that it will work that way?
Yeah, and you put it in a much bolder way than I would, because I'm still trying to make sure they all come on chain and love us. But the world has amazing technology to offer some of the biggest corporations on the planet, including what the Algorand team has built, including what is possible when you do decentralized finance technology. And for example, if I look at commodities as one vertical, and if you think of commodities as agriculture, carbon, metals, energy, everything we consume, that's about a $17 trillion industry that has a $1.6 trillion trade finance shortfall. Now, that financing shortfall can be tackled so beautifully by some of the technology and some of the providers available in these decentralized ecosystems and in the Algorand community. And so creating a place, a water layer one, which you mentioned is co-founded in our strategic relationship with Algorand, where those organizations feel they have access to the verified identities and the safeguards they need to be able to transact on a fully open chain, creates a really interesting convergence of genius between institutional users at the hundreds of billions of dollars level with community of grassroots developers and innovators and financiers, plus the best minds of cryptography coming from Algorand and some of our other blockchain partners who are on the layer 2 level. They are showing up, and institutions are showing up, and they're showing up to learn and work with the technology, but they're also showing up because they believe there's access to differentiated and new ways of doing their own business, for greater profit, but remember how much all of industry is under pressure for their own ESG performance. The trade finance shortfall is simply partially because they're not able to meet the environmental, social, and governance needs that financiers want to see. So when you combine that with some of the work some of these gentlemen are doing, and you put it on the cleanest blockchain on the planet, you're also creating differentiated flows of trade and commodities that can get a fundamentally different both return and financing terms. So we've got bold ambitions, and so far, people are showing up from all walks of life to participate, and I think it'll be awesome.
So one question that I have is that, for a long while in blockchain technology, people have always talked about how taking any kind of like non-digital or non-blockchain data and kind of trying to combine it with blockchain technology is difficult, and especially that's, most, I guess, demonstrated in instances where you're trying to combine things with the real world, with the blockchain. And so as you were talking about, Francisco, you were saying that how do you have the proof that you've gotten this benefit? And I was curious, also Claudio, I don't know, in your case, is it just a lot easier because it's very clear whether or not the sensors are giving data, and so you know for sure that you are getting the benefit and you can give the, the tokens, or, I'm just curious how you're trying to solve that problem.
Yeah, so I think it's, we are to some extent, with no criticism implied, we are kind of orthogonal to earn to play or play to earn, whatever you call it. Because in our world, you earn to get real, to stay real. So one of the key deliverables of our project, in fact, is raising awareness and educating people about the importance of science, environmental monitoring, and sustainable behaviors. So if you get this message across, and we are getting some result, then everything flows, because, of course, the token-based incentive scheme creates a lot of attraction. I mean, people in our world are rewarded with utility tokens, Planet's tokens, are rewarded for the data stream they send for sensors that they operate. So it's a very hands-on project. You have to do something in the real world. You have to get your hands dirty to help us collect data. And if you are responsible and you operate your sensor correctly, you get the tokens. It's not a purely financial play. And in fact, let me say that this is also reflected in our governance model, because we've been trying to innovate also on governance, although we are a very young project. However, in our world, since we don't have our own blockchain, so there is no proof of stake, so people don't need to stake to create security. What people need to do to help us grow is to be diligent in operating devices. So we are attaching our governance system to a sensor reputation system. So if you get a reputation based on how reliable you are as a data source, and reputation translates into voting rights. So the more you are engaged with the project, but not just financially, I mean, hands-on, the more you are a key member of the community. So there are a number of messages we want to get across. The first is about the importance of environmental monitoring itself. And let me say that I have some very good feedbacks, because, of course, sure enough, lots of people are attracted to PlanetWatch by the token incentive. They want to earn the tokens. However, I'm getting a lot of satisfaction when people write to me and say, hey, tokens are nice, but what I find very, very valuable is that I learned by PlanetWatch that if I'm watching the TV with my kids, we are 5 people in a room, hour after hour, the CO2 level in the room goes up. I know it's not good, so I'm learning that I need to ventilate from time to time. That's very satisfactory to me, and that fulfills the education deliverable. So the remaining challenge, of course, is to facilitate adoption as much as possible, to get around all the technicalities of wallets and all these things. But the message is coming across very clear, as far as I can see.
Okay, but so you think this reputation will solve for issues where, for instance, somebody sets up a bunch of bots trying to farm Planet Token and it's like all fake data?
Well, the thing is, you don't have voting power if you just make a financial play. I mean, you can buy 1 zillion tokens, still you have 0 voting rights unless you are operating a sensor directly or indirectly, sure enough. But that's our approach to governance.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, isn't there a way to cheat and have, like, basically, you know, pretend like you've set up a bunch of sensors and have them give fake data?
There is an issue with people trying to game the system, trying to spoof sensor, emulate. That's a technical challenge, and we are taking a very clear approach to that. Whenever we find out that some people are cheating the system, we ban them. Incidentally, we have introduced KYC in our system, which was kind of a controversial decision, but the rationale is that it's about trust. So if I find that somebody's setting up a sensor farm, and of course if you put 10 air quality sensors in the same room, you are cheating in our world, because there is no scientific information, there is no added value from additional sensors. So if you do that, you're banned, and we're not banning sensors, we're banning people, I must say.
The sensors are not Huawei, right?
Sorry?
the sensors are not from Huawei, no?
They're not always, sir?
I'm joking.
I didn't hear. It's about people, not about sensors, to begin with, yeah.
So we've kind of spent most of the panel talking about climate change as the main issue, but I don't know if we also wanted to talk about other environmental or sustainability/governance issues that you feel could be solved with blockchains.
Yeah, I mean, I will just say one thing. The name of the planet is Planet Watch, it's not Air Watch, and there's a reason for that. Because, I mean, the scope of our project is really, really big. Of course, we have to execute things in the correct order. We have to have a reasonable roadmap. But, I mean, there are huge environmental challenges related to water, obviously, and to other environmental parameters. So the scope of the potential of the project is immense. I can hardly quantify it. And we are starting with air quality because it's a big environmental and health challenge. There are 7 million premature deaths per year worldwide related to poor air quality. So it's big enough to start from.
Well, basically, it is important that people now is changing their minds. As we were saying before, after pandemic, 75% of the global population thinks that the brands that are not sustainable or that are not doing social causes or supporting social causes are going to lose their support. No, I mean, there are other brands that are doing it. No, so it is what consumers are not consumers anymore, are prosumers. We decide what to buy based on sustainability and other all the ESG components. No, so basically we are in huge trend of climate, huge trend of blockchain, and huge trend of transparency. Like, we were talking the other day with one of the biggest hotel brands in the world. They are doing, Frank, we need help with traceability of our goods for the breakfast in the hotel. We need to know where they come from, if they use pesticides, chemical or not. We need to know that.
So I want to up the ante because I completely agree with you. And I think the world we're in is one where environment, societal impact, and our ability to provide genuine governance to everything we consume and commerce is critical. And if you take the example of the hotel, you know, a lot of the giants we work with are in the B2B world at a place where their biggest consuming organizations now will not buy from them unless they're able to verify not just the environmental footprint, but are you employing women in your supply chains? Are you giving back to the local community? Are you using recycled content? Or are you just leaving a massive mess and buying, carbon credits because that's the hot topic? But being able to do the end-to-end of that has become a key enabler of doing more business, attracting finance and the beauty of decentralized ecosystems is they go even one step further in the social inclusion map, which is, I used to spend a lot of my old life across Africa and especially in Nigeria, where you see what oil wealth has done to that nation, and it's not much. It's not a good footprint to watch. Now, in a new world of decentralized finance, decentralized commerce, every single individual at the last mile should be part of your governance, should be part of decision making at the protocol level of what does all of this economic activity look like. And I think we're this close to pulling that off with innovations like yours and many others in this space.
Yeah, well, we will have to see how all this develops. I'm very interested to watch it play out. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you,
and
Laura.
to all the attendees.
Thank you.